So we're going to talk about how cooperative care really changed the way that I train and helped me, improve training with my dogs. And a lot of that has to do with you because you're the one that really taught me cooperative care. So, Tara is the founder of Zen Dog Grooming, and we're going to be launching a program, I should say, because it's a group coaching program called Hassle Free Handling. And so we're really excited about that because cooperative care, yes, it's like a very specific thing, but it helps build that relationship with your dog and better understanding how your dog is feeling in that moment. So, anyway, I'm really excited to have you on here. Do you want to introduce yourself really quickly for everyone?
Well, yeah, Lisa, this is so much fun. Thanks for having me on. And I want to say thanks for just reaching out months ago and telling me that you really wanted to combine our two forces and our two specialties because you want to apply what you learned with me to your service dog, therapy dog work, but you wanted me to be involved. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best. So basically, I was a groomer. I'll keep this short and sweet. I was a groomer for 5 years, and I was not a groomer first. I was a dog trainer first. And that's really important to get out right away because during my time as a groomer, I had an understanding of dog behavior, dog body language, dog communication through behavior, and also behavior change techniques and learning theory. And I was hit with a ton of bricks right away, and I realized dogs are struggling to be groomed and no one knows it. And everybody is totally unaware. And even for the dogs that are outwardly showing that they're struggling with grooming, emotionally, physically, like they just do not like it and they are trying to avoid it, people still downplayed it and acted like they're being stubborn. They acted like it was something they need to get over, that it's going to happen regardless. And they also had this mindset for some people that they were the boss of the dog and they needed to just overpower the dog. And I couldn't take it after 5 years. There was a lot of things that I just really needed to be away from, that came from grooming. And so I left. And just by chance, COVID also was right around the corner, and I started to train my dogs to accept grooming. And then I got really involved in the cooperative care concept, and I learned a lot. And I started to train my two dogs even more because it was definitely something I started at one point. But then because of COVID, I had to groom my own dogs at home. And then it just turned into I need to help other people do this. So I started to teach one-on-one, then it became a group class, and then that's how I met you.
Yeah. And honestly, like you truly have helped myself and my dogs a ton. So we all really appreciate you. And one thing I wanted to kind of like touch on in this live while I have you is basically when I started doing cooperative care work with not just all of my dogs, but Dodger specifically had a stair trauma, meaning he was very terrified of stairs and he wouldn't even kind of go near stairs at all. Like because we worked on it too much almost, where he started to have a negative association with stairs and reflecting on it. He's a lab. I was using kind of treats to kind of get him comfortable with stairs. And I think it was too much coercion for him. But what I found is, by doing cooperative care work and really committing to it, it's something that I've always heard I should do, hear people talk about it, but something I never really actually started. And that's why I wanted to work with you as well. It's because I wanted someone to like help keep me on track and make sure I'm doing all the things. But anyway, I noticed with Dodger that he started to become just so much more confident. He was more willing to do the stairs, which sounds so weird. Like, how does cooperative care, relate to stairs? But I think it's that confidence and having that choice in cooperative care that really helped with his stair work as well. So is that like a normal experience? Like, is that something you see a lot where cooperative care work kind of expands to other areas of training?
Yes, and that's actually I loved when you shared that story, for a couple reasons, but that is one of my favorite questions to ask my students. Like at some point in the coaching journey, at some point in their training journey with me, I love to ask, what are you seeing benefits for outside of grooming? And everybody has stuff to say. And I'm always like, The beautiful thing about cooperative care, especially the way that I teach it, is that it's not just giving the dog behaviors to do in order to start a sequence of events. They like the way we do it and the way that I teach it, I have seen time and again, it is like literally changing their conditioned emotional response in general for other things. So when you said, oh my gosh, Dodger has had this stare phobia since he was like a little puppy, and sad to say, but he had to change his career, and it was a part of that was a part of the story for him. But like you said, I can't believe that he's going up and down stairs, and it's just so much easier. And I loved that story. We get those all the time.
Yeah, I was honestly like really surprised to see that. And I think it also has to do with the fact that I'm more observant of his body language as well from kind of working through some of that cooperative care stuff, recording ourselves and rewatching it, we really notice our dogs more. So do you think that there's anything specific that people often miss with their dogs that aren't doing cooperative care training?
That's hard to say, because I only work with people doing cooperative care. But what
Yeah.
I will say is that the beautiful thing about making everybody film, which it does feel like something that is difficult for them to get started as a habit, but once they start filming, I can tell because their training improves. But the thing about filming is that they're observing, evaluating, planning ahead, and that helps their training get better. But definitely, whenever you are saying like you used to work on this, you've tried to work on this stare thing, and for some reason it just wasn't clicking, or was just this plateau that you got stuck at. I often really think that it has to do with the the foundations that we set in the beginning by taking several steps backwards actually and making the starting point much sooner in the process. And I know from experience from working with students that that never occurred to them. Like it never occurred to them to actually go backwards because no one is talking about those steps that they're missing. And I do see that by doing that, by going a few steps back, which is the stuff that we did in the Zen Zone exercises, by going a few steps back, I do see that the handler in their dog, they start to like co-regulate more and feed off of each other more, but not feed off of each other in like any sort of negative way, but like uplift each other. And then that turns into the dog feeling like I can actually do stuff that used to steer me. And we know that because we see it. So I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
that
Maybe I went in
does.
another direction.
No, sorry. I kind of like I was like, I worded that question weird too. But I honestly, so speaking of like going a few steps back, I almost feel like it's like a course or a program of understanding your dog, your personal dog's body language. Because I think, a lot of times we talk about body language in general, where we're like, oh, yeah, this is displacement sniffing or this is scratching or whatever. But every dog is slightly different in the more subtle, anxious cues that they might show. So, for example, with Dodger with the stairs, in hindsight, now that I kind of like really understand his body language and the more subtle behaviors, like him going to that first step, acting like he was wanting to do stair training is like him being like, look, I did pause up, like now let's go, like he's trying to offer something else basically. And
Yeah.
I wasn't catching that because I was like, oh, we're going upstairs, so you want to do the stair training, and this is why I wanted to like work with you too, is I feel like this is a foundation for like everything. And I think this is what people are missing when it comes to training, and they get frustrated with their dog. They get upset with their dog because they're not quote unquote listening while they're training out in public and things like that. But really, if you were able to understand that more nuanced body language, that more subtle body language that your dog is displaying, you
Yeah.
would better understand that your dog is kind of over threshold at Home Depot, for example. And then like the other side of it too is like during like public access tests, we do a handling exam where we're like, how does the dog respond if we touch their paws? How do they respond if we look in their ears, touch their tail? And a lot of that is the reason why we have that. Like, yes, it's rude for people to grab your dog out in public, but it's a reality of what happens when you have a dog out in public, regardless of whether it's rude or not. And honestly, even if you just have a pet dog that you're taking to places that are dog friendly, I think it's really important to do a lot of that training ahead of time so that you don't end up in like a lawsuit, for example. I guess I wanted to also talk about in the service dog context. I guess, do you see cooperative care help dogs kind of be more resilient to situations where someone's grabbing their tail or things like that?
Oh, for sure. And I know that because of the whole concept that I have introduced to all my students, which is the no choice event, because I might go on a little bit of a tangent. I might go really deep in this, but I know that it builds resilience in many different areas outside of grooming, and this can help service dog prospects or anybody doing the training, or even pet dogs in vet situations, because so many students, and you know this because you were in it, but I can tell you every single time someone says, we had a no choice event, and I literally wasn't expecting it to go so well.
Yeah.
And their words are always, and you might remember it goes verbatim, they definitely weren't consenting. They didn't get the choice to consent. I didn't give them an option, but they were calmer. It was easier. It took less people to hold them. They were breathing more steadily. And afterward, when we went home, my dog actually played with toys instead of hiding under the bed. So, like, repeatedly, I heard them. And to me, I'm like, this is resilience.
Yeah.
Because in actual real life situations where there's a level of unpredictability, but there's a lot of planning that goes in place also. They were telling us that what they were doing actually made real life easier. And that's the whole point of doing what I do, which kind of like a small tangent of that is that I really like to like I really like to squash the notion that you have to have a completely trained dog in order to do any grooming. Just like you with service dog work, I'm sure you are regularly telling people you probably I mean you're probably saying this. I don't know for sure. But you don't have to be completely trained to go do things out in the world. You don't have to be completely trained to do public access. Like public access is of course the end goal, but they need to be able to put what they're learning into practice, right?
Yeah, and honestly, it's actually really crazy because there's a lot of people that still believe that you shouldn't have any no choice events while you're still training, which is totally not true. Like, I mean, I have 3 dogs, and with Waffles, she was she's still scared of grooming, and we're still working on that cooperative care stuff. But when there is a no choice event, she doesn't run away anymore, which is like a huge win because she used to run away the moment I touched the basket that has the nail clippers. Um, and honestly, with Dodger too, like this just happened yesterday actually. So it's very new, but he we went to the lake and there was a ledge and he started like on his own trying to jump off of it but not conflicted, but I was not telling him to. He was like on his own like wanting to do this and I was like, okay, that's so weird. And then he jumped off and then he was like, oh, this is fun. Then he tried to jump back out and he couldn't get out, but he didn't realize that the shore was like 5 feet away. So he could have gotten out, but he was like freaking out. And I was like, oh God, I've ruined him from ever wanting to go in the water again, you know, because he was like freaking, like he thought he was dying because he couldn't get out. And I was like, am I gonna have to go in? No, like I can't, I don't want to go in this gross water. It's cold. Um, he got out eventually. And then I wanted to see if he was willing to go back in because I was like, I hope I didn't ruin him. And he went back in. Like he wouldn't go on the ledge part, but we went in the other area where he still had to like maneuver through rocks and stuff. So I do feel like he built a lot of resilience through cooperative care and confidence because number one, he would have never even tried to jump off the ledge before. It was almost like he was so conflicted, like my genetics are telling me I should
Yeah.
jump in, but I can't, like, I'm scared, you know?
Yeah.
uh, so
And sometimes I wonder that story you just told is really it's such a common story, but sometimes I wonder if a lot of people sometimes get caught in the trap of doing training perfectly because they don't want to introduce any like aspects into the behaviors that they don't want to see later. And on one hand, what we do with the cooperative care work that you got to be a part of with me, you probably know that we did a lot of like, let's see what happens. What if this does occur? Like we really, I really strive a lot to make space and leave space for the student to understand this for themselves, evaluate this for themselves, and decide for themselves what to do next or what could be changed, and kind of remove some pressure. So, and I can see that changing, like dog training, like you said, how you were like, let's let Dodger go in, because it's like climbing a ladder, you know, like you go up a step, but then you have to go up another step, and it just takes some time to get to the top.
For sure. What do you think are the main things people should be looking for when they record themselves training? Like, do you think, let me reword. So I'm just wondering for people like at home that are training their service dogs that have never recorded before, like if you want to just kind of explain a little bit about what it's like recording a training session and why it's so important.
Oh my gosh, this was one of my favorite things to do with students, was to evaluate the videos. And I would often tell them like, this is a 2 minute video, but we're going to probably be here for 12, 15 minutes. And you remember, like
Yeah,
we would watch it once through without saying anything. We would watch it again, and I would pause a bunch of times, and I would like make notes of what I observed. And then we would watch it again, and I would actually ask the um, other students what thoughts come up for you about what we are observing. And then we would watch it again, and I would ask the handler that's in the video, like, after all that, is there anything that has changed for you since filming that? Because as you know, we film ourselves, and then we have this idea immediately in our minds about how it went. So by going through that like repeated process of analyzing it, I find that a lot of students by the end of that have a different perspective of what they're seeing. But I want to emphasize, and you'll remember this, that we are not evaluating the dog any more than the handler. Like we have to evaluate the handler behavior just as much as the dog's behavior, because, and you might remember also, I didn't always have the answers.
yeah,
I would be like, you know what? And a lot of people want to ask like really specific questions and get a direct answer, and a lot of times I would even refrain from doing that, because what makes a good trainer is someone who can be really open about what they're seeing. And it's super important to come back to that information later, and you'll have a different perspective also. So for anybody that's, you know, thinking about filming training, or like unsure what training filming your training is going to be like, it'll be different every day, but it is so beneficial to do it. I mean,
yeah.
what
And
was your biggest takeaway from filming your training?
yeah, so I think for me, it was being it like, so sometimes I'd be like, oh, I just saw what they did. Like, why am I even recording? But I know better. Because when you rewatch it, it really, really does help you notice things that you are doing or your dog is doing. And I think this is not just dog training, because I also am, used to teach yoga. And so when you tell
Oh,
people, I don't know if you know that I used to teach yoga. And when you tell people like square your hips to the front, and like all the people that are like don't have their hips square don't listen, because they're in their head, they're like, I'm already like squaring my hips. And I remember, like anything that requires awareness of what you are doing, you're not going to ever know unless you record yourself, because
yeah.
you just see it. As far as the dog's body language, like that's where I was like, oh, I'm already seeing it. But that's not true, because you because you won't notice every single little nuanced thing that they're
Yeah.
doing. Um, the other thing too is like seeing how they respond to your body language as
Yeah.
well. And so when I was like a newer trainer, and I was first trying to kind of like start up my YouTube channel and stuff, I just remember I would record myself, and like I would tell people like in the video, like to the camera, I'd be like, don't loose leash walk like with your arm bent like this. Otherwise, they're going to always think that your arm bent means loose leash walking, and then looking at your phone means, oh, I can pull, like I'm gonna pull because we're not training right now, or just
Mhm.
paying attention to what you're doing. And as I was saying it, like 1 second later, I did the same thing, and I was like, well, I didn't know I was doing it.
Yeah.
And even with like waffles, for example, I was just doing this fun shaping lesson. I did this course that was like science of dog training and applying it into, real life. So one of the things was shaping a target, like a bullseye target. So like shaping your dog to be able to boop a target on a bullseye, basically. And I just remember when I was recording it, I was like, how come she only does it like 25% of the times? And then when I rewatched the video, I was like, oh, it's because the other times I'm like doing something weird with my arm, So
Mhm.
there's little things like that. And then I also think it allows you to be a lot more reflective in your training. And because in the moment you're just focused on the training, but when
Yeah.
you rewatch yourself training, you can be like, oh, that was good, or oh, I should have split criteria a little bit more there, or they look really comfortable here. Maybe I could have raised criteria a little bit more. And just so everyone knows, I think I should explain, like, so split criteria is like making it easier. um, and so, for example, with like nail trimming, it's like, should I just show the nail trimmer or should I reach towards the dog with the nail trimmer? Um, but the other thing I was going to say too, so sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but going back to what you said with the exact, like people asking for exact
Yeah.
information, that happens a lot. I was just asked recently, like, oh, how many times should I repeat the on and off game with the mat to training? So like, because we're trying to teach settle, so like
Yeah.
warming up with on and off the mat, and they're like, exactly how many times do I need to do this? And I was like, it's hard for me to say an exact amount because it depends on how the dog is doing. And so
Mhm.
I feel like this is related to literally everything dog training, and people even being like, I'm so frustrated. Why is, this dog not listening to me right now? It's like, you would understand that if you understood how, like, to meet your dog where they're at emotionally so that they are able to learn, because when your dog is over threshold anxious, they're not going to retain that information as well anyway, if at all. So you shouldn't this is what I've learned, is like, if I ever feel like any kind of like frustration during training, that means I need to like step back and evaluate, because I shouldn't feel
Yeah.
like I have to work so hard to get a dog's attention or to get them engaged.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing people often miss, is like, they think like, oh, I need my dog to be able to fly on an airplane, and they're just pulling too much. And it's like, really what you need to do is take a step back and better understand how to communicate and have this kind of two-way street in terms of like training, so you can see how your dog is feeling in the moment, from an emotional standpoint, so that they are I'm like rambling now, but basically, like, you want your dog to be in that state of mind where they are able to learn, not
Yeah.
anxious. And I feel like a lot of people try to push it too hard when their dog is anxious, overstimulated, whatever label you want to put on it. And that's where that conflict of like trying to get them to focus comes about. And cooperative care really helps that, because it helps you understand why your dog isn't focusing.
Yeah. And I think that the whole like theme of the story that you shared and the exploration you just made was that the foundation that we set in the program you were in with me was the co-regulation, because so many people message me and they're like, we've done cooperative care and it didn't work. And I'm like, then you didn't do cooperative care. Okay, so
No, I
long
get
story
what you're
short,
saying. Yeah.
the explanation is then you didn't do cooperative care. You taught behaviors, but you didn't do cooperative care, and it's not your fault. And I have to gently remind everybody, it's not your fault. You followed training plans and you followed like training videos, and you didn't teach your dog a concept. They need, and as you know, for service dogs especially, and therapy dogs, they need to have a good understanding of concept and the freedom to make choices based on what the environment is telling them.
Yeah. And I know
That's
this,
cooperative care, right?
yeah. And this is a question that I'll have a lot is like people get scared of cooperative care sometimes, or even, I shouldn't even say cooperative care. I just mean like asking your dog to opt into training as a broader term. So like asking your dog if they're ready to opt in to training while you're at Home Depot through like focus games and things like that.
Yeah.
Like away and back pattern game type thing. It's like we were asking your dog to opt in, right? And people get scared. They're like, well, my dog won't opt in then, like, oh no, like, I don't, like, what if they don't opt in? Like, what do we do? Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big topic. We should talk again
Yeah.
about that. We should talk again about that topic. Um,
Because
I
the quick response is that by giving them the choice, you actually do get them to opt in.
yeah,
But that's like
yeah,
very high level. Obviously, there's more to
yeah,
say to that, but yeah.
yeah,
We can definitely talk more about that later, but cool. So anyway, so I just wanted, do you have anything else to add or
no,
anything else you want to say? Because I know we can dive into a lot of topics, so we'll keep this short. But basically, the reason why just to recap from earlier, the reason why I wanted to kind of partner with you on this is because I truly do think that, cooperative care, we're calling this hassle-free handling because we're talking about bringing cooperative care out in public and out, quote unquote, on the roads, whether that's like the vet's office or wherever your dog will be possibly handled by someone else. So I wanted to partner with you on this because it's truly the foundation of all training. So yes, we are focusing on handling, but it expands to pretty much every area of training. And it helps you. The most important part is it helps you really truly understand your dog's body language. And when I say body language, I mean your personal dog in front of you,
yeah,
that dog's body language, because every dog is so, so different. Yes, there are, like I said, standard things like displacement stitching, displacement scratching, whatever. But like Dodger, for example, when he's anxious, tries to climb on me at the vet. Like, and people are like, oh, he's so excited. No, that's anxious jumping, but okay.
yeah,
Waffles, cowers in the corner. So those are more extreme examples, but every dog's gonna be slightly different. Especially even just like viewing your dog like physically, like some dogs have curly tails, like you won't be able to tell as much with their tail, things like that. But anyway, my point is that this is going to be like the foundation of really understanding your dog, and that's going to expand to all areas of training, whether you are training for public access, better understand how your dog is feeling in that environment, or whether you just want to train a therapy dog to be comfortable, helping the people out in public, whether that's at the airport or hospitals, etc. So if you are interested in joining us for hassle-free handling, it's going to be in September, and we have a wait list open now. It's going to be collab.training.com/hassle-free-handling, and I can put it in the or Tara, will you put it in the comment
oh yeah,
folder?
yeah.
Okay, I'm like, I should have already had it ready. Sorry.
Oh, that's hilarious. I try to type it on my keyboard instead of like on my.
And so like I said, yes, like if your dog lacks confidence, obviously this will help, but I truly think this will help every single dog out there and help you build a better relationship with your dog and kind of better understand why your dog is experiencing frustration or not staying engaged in training. And there's something else I was going to say. It'll come back to me later. but yeah, I think that's it. Um, man, I had a good point, but I forgot. It's okay. I'll put something later. Um,
I think I spelled everything right.
let me see.
Okay, I just submitted it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is super fun, and I love how much you pointed out that like this is the foundation. This, in my opinion, like doing cooperative care properly really does become the foundation for all other training. Because how many other times did students say, or like dog lip dog life in general, like how many other times did students say like, oh my gosh, my dog is actually sniffing on a walk now, and they never would, like they would just charge ahead and walk 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 walk, and
Yeah,
now my dog is sniffing, and they said I have not done anything to improve walking, but for some reason my dog just feels more comfortable here, which means that now some training goals could actually start to take place in that environment because the dog is feeling co-regulated and they're resilient and their threshold has improved and their baseline has improved so that other things can take place. But I think that this is going to be such a great class because first of all, we're going to be co-teaching. So we're going to teach together. We're going to take turns teaching classes. We're going to both be available for students to learn from. We're both going to bring our strengths and our like, you know, interests and passions to this. And we're going to be teaching, like you said, just a base understanding of how to get handling accepted from your dog. And that is going to be applicable to your service work, your therapy dog, and then pets, any pet stuff. Because honestly, I was so glad when you brought this to my, when you brought this idea to me, because I have been asked for years if what I do for like fearless grooming could be applied to vet care. And I said, yes, but it it has to be something that they initiate. Like I'm teaching you all this grooming stuff, but you're going to be able to apply it to vet care. And I was confident to say yes because many students did do that. Um, so I'm really excited. This is gonna be fun.
yeah. I remember what point I was gonna make now. I was gonna
Good.
say, this will overall just make you a better trainer in general, whether you are a professional trainer or not. Um, a lot of times people, will watch a video and be like, it didn't work for my dog. But this understanding your dog's body language, understanding, you know, whether like how they're feeling is going to help you better implement the YouTube videos that you see. Because a lot of it is just not understanding that specific video is moving too fast for your dog or too
Yeah.
slow for your dog,
Yeah.
not motivating them enough. So that's what I was gonna say too, is like I said, like it's gonna make you an overall better trainer for your dog. And I was already a professional dog trainer when I worked with you. And so I will say that your program made me an even better trainer as well because
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
remember whenever do you remember whenever I said for the first time, training sessions are 2 minutes?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind at that point? What thought came up when you heard me say that the first time?
Honestly, because with cooperative care, I knew you're supposed to keep it short, but I it was really hard. For because I think the first one I was like, I think that was about 5 or 2 minutes, and then I looked at the video and it was like 7 minutes. And I was like, oh
Right?
no, I was like, I'm gonna get in trouble. But but yeah, like people like to train too long, and I totally get it because as someone, I honestly have realized this about myself, actually, also through your program and recording myself and stuff, is that because I have ADHD, I struggle with task switching. So it's not just dog training, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
everything in life, right? So that task switching, I feel like has made it even harder for me to keep training sessions short sometimes because once I'm in the groove of it, it's like hard for me to like leave. And that has actually like helped me better be like, no, like having an actual time limit where it's like, I'm keeping this at 2 minutes, like there's no question because at 2 minutes, I'm done. Versus
Yeah.
if someone tells me to keep it short, I'm like, yeah, sure,
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh, it's like 30 minutes. So
And
that's a
that
long
is
one.
just honestly, this is one of the tidbits that I hope everybody takes away that watches this. Like, this is going to be the secret sauce. One of the things in the end, it's like the secret sauce to making you a better dog trainer is to set a 2-minute timer no matter what, no matter how amazing that training session was, no matter how crappy that training session was, no matter if you saw the goal behavior, no matter if you had to repeat the same criteria 10 times, no matter how many treats you fed them. Because I mean, we've all heard the tip to count out so many treats and like when they're gone, you're done. But how many mistakes happened in that amount of treats that you could have avoided if you done the 2 minutes? Or how many times did you lump on accident because you only had a few treats left, but you really wanted to see a certain behavior? So what I love about setting the 2-minute timer for everybody, number one, there's a reason for it. I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'm gonna like info dump, but there's a reason for the 2-minute timer. There's a reason that that's a sweet spot for training, because I really want everybody to have low pressure, get in and get out, and also have fun with training again, instead of sitting down to be like, this has to be better than the last one. And then tomorrow, this has to be better than yesterday. And then next day, this has like I really think that becoming a better trainer is removing all that expectation and just being able to recognize when you got progress and celebrate it and be really happy with all those times that your dog said no to. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna quit there. Do you want to say what our next one is?
Yeah. So our next one is going to be on May 28th at the same time. And we'll talk about why handling matters for all, whether you have a service dog or a pet dog. So we hope to see you there. And you're hosting next time. So your Instagram handle is zendog.fearlessgrooming. So everyone should go follow you as well so that they can be notified when we go live next time.
Yeah, so basically, we are just going to be doing a live every month. We're going to be sending out emails to everybody who joins the wait list. We're going to keep you informed, and like Lisa said, it'll be opening in September, and it's actually a live class. So everybody that joins this round is going to be with us on calls and get evaluations and videos and stuff. So this will be a ton of fun. But we'll be back on May 28th, probably around the same time at night. Or we'll see how things go.
Yeah. Well, thank
We're
you.
flexible.
Yes. Thanks for your time.
Bye, Lisa.
Okay. Bye.